Well, certainly interesting times going on behind the doors at number 10. Obviously, pretty much since mid-lockdown when Dominic Cummings made his, shall we say, trip to his eye appointment at Bernard Castle, pretty much really heavy demands have been placed on Boris to fire his chief advisor. But as we've said before, very clearly on this channel, Boris is a man without a plan. And a man without a plan does not fire the man with one. Because as far as we can tell, pretty much all of number 10's directive and policy alignment seems to be going along that of Dominic Cummings, of what he used to portray in his crazy blogs. But this is the bizarre point of here we are. And of course, this is a cabinet who was pretty much appointed on their, well, loyalties and strength of wanting to get Brexit done, whatever, again, that actually means. Because even now, as we are poised to leave, the single market and, the customs union at the end of this year, getting Brexit done still doesn't actually mean anything. We have said all the time there is no policy attached to Brexit, so we can't talk about what this means for the future, what Brexit will mean for X and certain things. We can only essentially, at times, just guess and crystal ball gaze, and this is what's really worrying about the future of this country and the guidance that we are going under Boris. However, we have had rumours that, of course, Boris is going to go in 6 months' time. He may go at Christmas, he may go after Christmas, he may go May, April time with that and do the whole, as we've said before, the whole George Bush mission accomplished thing. But interesting times ahead, certainly within the Tory party, because they stacked all their advisors are the former people who were very, very high up in Vote Leave. Indeed, the guy who went, let me just double check his name, Cain, was the head, or was one of the big head honchos in the Vote Leave campaign. And pretty much what Boris did was he brought everyone in that campaign into his advisor pool. Not only that, but we're also seeing the Tory party crack in amazingly interesting ways. But that's a video for another time. But straight on to this, because it is very highly possible that Michael Gove will be the next Prime Minister. I am pretty much willing to bet that is who it will be. And of course, there has been continuous rumours that both Cummings and Gove have been at loggerheads. So certainly, if Boris does leave, then how long will Cummings stay? Will he stay? Will Gove get rid of him? We don't know, but this could be the first firing, shall we say, of this type of shock, because very clearly what Boris might be doing is he might already be appointing Gove as his anointed successor, or that's what we might see in the coming days. But he's now trying to, shall we say, establish that line of succession, shall we say, and clearing the deck of anyone who might disagree with that. So this could be a casualty of that, but we'll get into this story. So this comes from The Guardian. So Cain, Johnson's senior aide, resigns amid infighting at number 10. So a row has broken out at the heart of Downing Street as one of Boris Johnson's most senior aides and close ally of Dominic Cummings resigned amid bitter infighting. Cain announced he would step down as Director of Communications on Wednesday night after ministers and advisors, including Johnson's fiancée, Carrie Salmons, were said to have protested over his planned promotion to Chief of Staff. And that says a lot, by the way, that the Prime Minister's fiancée, how does Carrie Salmons manage to have that much power to get a senior aide fired? So Cain's resignation also threw into doubt the future of Cummings, Johnson's most senior and high-profile advisor, with one insider telling The Guardian that he could depart number 10 alongside Cain. As of the time of doing this video, he hasn't. And Cummings has said is said to be furious that Cain, a fellow Vote Leave campaigner, who was partly credited with bringing him into number 10, has had in effect been forced out. There was also speculation about other potential departures from Johnson's inner circle. Meanwhile, some Tory MPs were buoyed by the turmoil, with one claiming that this was a chance to get Johnson out of the grip of these people. The row appears to reflect internal turmoil and dissatisfaction in number 10, at a time when the UK has surpassed over 50,000 deaths from the coronavirus, according to official figures. Critics of the government have repeatedly cited how tensions between senior members of Johnson's team and his refusal to sack Cummings early this year have hindered the country's efforts to get on top of the pandemic. As the internal rows were thrown into the public spotlight on Wednesday, the extent of the division and disagreement within Johnson's senior team has started to emerge. About a week ago, Johnson offered the new Chief of Staff position to Cain, who is regarded as one of his most loyal and low-key, long-standing staffers, and the advisor had been considered whether and had been advised to consider and been the advisor had been considering whether he should accept. Friends indicated that Cain had been thinking about leaving Downing Street once the government had got over the hump of COVID, partly because of the relentless nature of the job, and also because of clashes with incoming Downing Street spokeswoman Allegra Stratton, until Johnson had made his unexpected offer. Cain is known to have been uneasy with the choice of Stratton, also for press secretary, and while he had previously clashed with Salmons, his precocious style with MPs and special advisors meant that the number expressed outraged at number 10 at his potential promotion, which would have made him one of the three key people in the Prime Minister's inner circle, along with Cummings and Cabinet Secretary Simon Case. Allies of Cain had said that he'd been acting as an effective Chief of Staff for some time, taking part in major strategic decisions, including the Chequers Summit in April about easing lockdown. Special advisors' WhatsApp groups went nuclear on Wednesday night, one Whitehall source said, with a number speculating about what Cain's departure could mean for the planned communications shake-up across Westminster. A number of Conservative MPs expressed delight at the row. One MP said it was a chance to get back the old Boris and back out of the grip of these people. Another said that the MPs would be over the moon if Cummings also departed. Now, this is an interesting side note, because a lot of Conservative MPs look back at, the Boris that we have now isn't the Boris that we voted for. But they're completely wrong. This is Boris. This is Boris. This is what you got, guys, when you put him into office. He might have been all ooh-rah-rah and bombastic, but that's not what you need to be Prime Minister. You have to be detail-oriented. You have to look at plans, short-term and long-term, and be willing to make important decisions. This is not something Boris does. And we have known that even going all the way back to his days when he was the mayor for London. So this isn't new. So MPs somehow expecting that if they can just get rid of these people, that old Boris will somehow come back? No, not at all. So one senior PM said that they believed it was a sign that the battle for influence with the Prime Minister was slowly being won by Salmons and our allies rather than Cummings. Boris must take this chance to pivot back to being the Liberal unifier and snack a chunk of these there we go, and snack a chunk of these cabinet no-hopers and start a new team. But it does look like tonight that Carrie will be those urging a more inclusive that Boris are winning. So Cain will leave number 10 at the end of the year, saying that he made the decision after careful consideration, and he has understood that he met with Johnson in Downing Street on Wednesday evening to ultimately decide to go. He said that it had been a privilege to work as the advisor for Mr. Johnson for the last 3 years, being part of the team that helped him win the Tory leadership contest, secure the largest Conservative majority for 3 decades, and it was an honour to be asked to serve as the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, he said. He'd like to thank the team at Number 10, including the many unsung and incredible talented civil servants for the hard work and support during the last 18 months. Most of all, I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for his loyalty and leadership. I've no doubt that under his premiership, the country will deliver on the promises made in the 2019 election campaign and build back better from the coronavirus pandemic. Blah, 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 blah. James Stack, the Prime Minister's official spokesperson and the former political editor of the Daily Mail, is set to take over as Director of Communications. Allies of Cain had said that he's taken time off for the past few days to consider his position, described by one friend as a circuit breaker. The comment was meant jokingly, but was also a nod to the pressures Cain had been under. He's a long-time advisor to Johnson, including his time during as Foreign Secretary and while on the backbenches after his resignation. The pair are particularly close, with Cain staying loyal to Johnson even when the former Mayor of London started to be failing among the Tories. And a former Daily Mail journalist who once described a chicken to taunt Tory Prime Minister David Cameron, Cain is close to Cummings, and from their time working on the Vote Leave campaign, and is particularly credited with bringing him into Downing Street. The new Chief of Staff is set to take over the day-to-day running of Downing Street and the operation currently overseen by Cummings, to allow him to step back and focus on key policy objectives such as Whitehall reform. And we've talked about that before in other videos, so go have a look at those. But yeah, not good, by the way, not good at all. Essentially, they're just trying to grab as much and centralise as much power as possible. And of course, this is going to have a bad knock-on effect for civil servants as a whole. So Cummings' journey from Durham to London at the height of lockdown and the first pandemic wave, and Johnson's refusal to sack him as a result, became one of the biggest government crises of the year. And he was revealed following an investigation by The Guardian and the Daily Mirror. Critics said that the Prime Minister was so dependent on Cummings that he has vowed to overhaul the civil service and hire weirdos and misfits to join Number 10 team, and that risked the wrath of the public and Tory MPs rather than lose his most senior aide. One former Whitehall colleague of Cain said, "The backbenchers will be heartened to see the broader group of people influencing the Prime Minister and Number 10. Lee Cain was a diverse figure, and although I don't think anyone will cheer that there is upheaval in the middle of a pandemic, James Slack is well liked, and with Allegra Stratton's appointment too, people will be reassured by his change in direction." Johnson paid tribute to Cain, saying that he would be much missed, and I want to thank Lee for his extraordinary service to the government over the last 4 years. He said, "He's been a true ally and friend, and I'm very glad that he will remain Director of Communications till the new year. He will be much blessed, blah, 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 blah." A Labour spokesperson also said, "On the day the UK became the first European country to report over 50,000 pandemic deaths and the public endure yet another lockdown, Boris Johnson's government is fighting like rats over a sinking ship over who gets what job. It is precisely this lack of focus and rank incompetence that has held Britain back. The public deserves better and this incompetent, divided Conservative government." And oh boy, are the Conservatives divided, because we're going to get that into the next video, so look out for that. Because if you've liked the ERG, well boy, oh boy, have I got a whole new name and acronyms for you to remember. Because, oh boy, they're coming thick and fast. But that's the next video. Thanks for watching, as always. Down below there's a link to my Patreon page, and of course do remember to hit that like and share button. It does help out the channel, and of course we'll see you all next time to learn more wonderful acronyms.